for anybody that just chose audio only, you just got your ears blasted off you by the excitement that has arrived.
Yeah.
Why are we here, Ruth? What's going on?
Oh my goodness. Hello, everybody. I can't believe I'm saying this for the first time. I am your host, Ruth McGilligan, and welcome to the Womanhood Illuminated podcast.
The inaugural episode.
Oh my goodness, we're here.
We have arrived.
We have arrived. We did it. The portal is open. The temple doors are open. It's been such a journey. I can't believe it. I absolutely can believe it. But yeah, thank you anyone who is tuning in for this first episode live with us on release day. We appreciate you and thank you for being here.
Sure do appreciate you.
Sure do appreciate you. Oh my goodness. Yes, it's been a long road to get here, Jason.
It has. It has indeed, yeah.
I before I even begin to talk about all the amazing, beautiful, yummy, exciting conversations that are coming your way, I just want to take an opportunity to drop into stillness and to honor you, actually, Jason, to honor the divine being, the masculine, the superstar sex god that is beside me. Oh,
don't stop.
but no, really, to honor you for bringing me here, because none of this would have happened without you. Like, truthfully, folks, Jason started this journey in his own private venture, which we'll talk about later, but he has kept saying to me, you should do a podcast. And I was in complete, no, thank you. I am so not comfortable in front of a camera. And this, just to say, feels very alien. I mean, it's getting easier. It is. But it's really, it's about stepping into the light.
Or illuminating it, if you will.
Illuminating, yes.
Yeah.
To really step into the light, to feel that call, that invitation, and to step in. It's a hard road and it's very uncomfortable. But my discomfort zone is expanding into my comfort zone, you know. Or I'm expanding my comfort zone into my discomfort zone, I should say.
Yeah.
But that invitation was extended by you. And I just want to say thank you, because we started this many moons ago just for fun.
Back in the olden days.
In the olden days of a ring light and a phone, you know, just having a bit of crack back. I think it was during the time that shall not be named.
During Voldemort era.
During the magical portal that was being at home for extended days and just having...
Yeah.
The absolute crack together, and
as difficult as that time was for a lot of
yes.
people, we were very fortunate that it birthed a lot of quite poignant things.
Yeah, we really got to drop into our creativity, didn't we? But yeah, so thank you, because
You're welcome.
As a woman, the embodiment of the feminine, and I know these are words that maybe you're not comfortable with or don't know very well, folks. More will be revealed as we go along.
Buckle up, buttercup.
There will be a lot more explained as we go. But basically, as the embodiment of the feminine, you're the embodiment of the masculine for me in every possible way, in that I get to be in flow and to show up, folks. I just rock up into the room and Jason has everything ready to go and I get to just drop in, and that's because you do what you do, which is you're the logical, practical brain, the container.
Sprinkling of OCD in there as well.
Lies. You are the glass, and I feel like I get to be the water because you contain me, and you're the safety and that safe framework around me that allows me to feel safe to expand and to step into the light. And I just feel that that's really important to say and to honor you and say thank you.
Well, first of all, obviously, you're very, very welcome.
You're welcome.
I think it's kind of, it goes hand in hand that as a unit, we support each other in whatever we do, which has been the case for ever since we've started going out almost 20 years ago.
Wow.
I just threw up my mouth a little bit. How's anything in our lives 20 years ago? Jesus.
I know. I know.
But yeah, to like, it is no coincidence that you are the embodiment of all this flow energy and these amazing conversations, and that for years I have, without my really knowing it, was a documentarian. I loved documenting things. Even as a kid, I loved, disposable cameras. And I mean, disposable cameras back in the day were quite expensive.
Yep.
And my mum would be fuming when she would print out you had to go to your local pharmacy and get them to print it out. And it took like a week, and then you got them back. And
so exciting.
Mum was all excited for Christmas photos, and then it was like me documenting my toys and... and then into later years when the old phones started carrying cameras on them, like it was, my friends often would take the hand out of me and say, like, like in one scenario we were on a canoe camp trip, and I thought this is gorgeous. The water was like glass, and there was like geese flying overhead, and I was taking this video, and my mate's like, "Sir, would you start paddling? Quit fucking taking photos." But that has morphed into a new venture, which is videography and filmmaking and stuff like that. And it just merged perfectly with you and everything that you've been doing. And for years, and I've talked about this before, for years I have been a fly on the wall for these conversations that you have had. And it was like when you were discussing your own healing journey with other healers, or as the person on the other side of the equation where you're helping people. And many times I thought, Jesus, if somebody had a microphone in the middle of that desk or that room and recorded that conversation, there was power in it. And then that's when the light bulb came on about the idea for a podcast. And then it was just, I just slowly had to
chip away,
drop hints, and eventually you came to me and were like, after years of me saying you should do a podcast, Ruth, I was like, I think I'm maybe going to do a podcast. And I was like, well, welcome to the fucking conversation, Ruth. And then here we are, Womanhood Illuminated. Like you say, it started off very, very simple, and now I think it's important because of the conversations you're having to
give them their due.
To give them their due, and present them in such a way that people will enjoy.
Yes.
And so yeah, I'm honoured to be part of it. I'm honoured to be the first co-host.
Yeah.
I say co-host. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very exciting time. I'm very, 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 very excited.
I am very excited too, and I mean, what's crazy is when you say yes. I literally had a situation today where I got the soul nudge. Here it is. And I went, oh, I know in my being that this has to be a yes, even though there's this part of me that is resistant to it, but that is why it has to be a yes,
Absolutely, yeah.
The feel the fear and do it anyway. But it's, and when I, just to talk to that for a second, there's the fear that is the absolute fight or flight, you do not do this, you are not safe response, which I say honor, obviously. Obviously, yeah. But there is the feeling where it's like, oh, I'm a wee bit uncomfortable with that now. That makes us a wee bit scary. But it's like when you go to do anything that's kind of like an adrenaline sport.
Roller coaster.
Yeah, a roller coaster, or the coaster, jump off a cliff. You're wearing your life jacket. You're perfectly safe. There's people there facilitating that for you. And yet you still get that, but you do it. And then it's like, this was absolutely fucking amazing. I'm so glad I did it. Yeah, that soul nudge. And I had it today. And this has been a soul nudge. For sure. And I have ignored it for a long time, but everything in its right time, everything is divine timing. And today, just that situation reminded me again. Basically, I was listening to a piece of work around the rose and priestess path, which we'll discuss in another episode. And this woman has came into my consciousness and it's been in my sphere, and she literally, as I was listening to it, messaged me today. And I'm like, in the middle of this, and she's connected to this work on a completely separate thing. And I'm like, that message came through, and it was in relation to do some work together. And I was like, there it is. The body goes, but I'm like, the soul is like, go.
But the other thing is, the synchrodestiny and things as well, because when we first decided, right, we're going to do this podcast, you said to me, I have an idea for guests, and I've got like a few lined up.
Yeah.
And we teased that it was a podcast, and then once we announced it was a podcast, people who Ruth had said to me many times, my God, they'd make an amazing podcast guest. These people started following you, started reaching out to you, and it was like, yeah, there's the universe at work in daily life, and that sort of, when you trust, what is it you call it, the
Surrender.
The surrender experiment.
Yes, the surrender experiment. A great book I would recommend reading. Basically, when you get out of your own way and stop trying to control things, it's like our understanding of what is possible for us. You know, when we control in life, we're taught to control, and also because we're afraid. We're so deeply, deeply afraid. And I know from my own experience, I was. And when I started getting out of my own way and going, right, I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't take inspired action, but you're listening so much more deeply. You're taking time each morning to drop in and listen. You know, you're following these little subtle soul nudges, and next thing you can see that there's a master weaver that is weaving all of these threads together in your life. And I have seen that and experienced that time and time again, where I get this full body, whoa, this knowing of like, there it is. So in relation, for an example of what I'm talking about, there was a gentleman that Jason and I had been discussing. I have a list of beautiful guests. And yes, just to speak to the podcast title for a second. So it's Womanhood Illuminated. Womb is in the name. So yes, it is about speaking to woman, but womanhood is a community. We are all born from the womb. So man and woman, it is for you. It's for everyone.
Exactly. It's all encompassing.
Yes, I work with men, I work with women. I don't just work with women, you know, but that's my area of expertise and speciality, because I am a woman. So, and in my relationship work with Jason as well. But we have been talking. I had a plethora of incredible guests' names and people that I started to connect with, and they were women. But I kept saying, and you and I discussed this together, I need men. I want men. And
where are the men?
Where are the men? Because they are there. There's men doing such incredible work here on this land and further afield. I was like, where are they? And I know them, but how to connect with them, you know? Because there's this part of you when you're on this journey of going, do I send the brazen message of like, hey, I know we've never talked.
Brass necked as fuck.
Yes, exactly. And I was like, no, that's pushing it. I want to just let it ease in. So there was this gentleman, and he'll be coming on the podcast, and I cannot wait to film that with him. But I discovered him purely by accident. He's local to me, and I followed him and I reached out to him in January. Okay, so this is going live on the 5th of May, 2025. And I reached out to him in January 2025 about an event he was running. He didn't see the message. And then another girl reached out to me to invite Jason and I to her event.
Which was beautiful too.
Which was an incredible sound bath, sea and sauna. And she'll be coming on to the podcast as well. She will. And she said to come along to this event. We did. And it was a Saturday. And on the Friday, who follows me back randomly but the guy? So he never seen the in Instagram. I don't know. I'm sure you all know this.
Message requests.
Yeah, it's a message. So people don't see it. I've experienced that myself. You have to go in and check regularly. So he never saw it. Even then, he followed me back randomly on the Friday, and then on the Saturday, lo and behold, he was there, and he was one of two men that were there, and both of them are coming on the podcast. But the other little thread that has been woven here was on the Wednesday, I was communicating with another woman about the podcast and said to her in the voicemail that I was calling in more men. If there were men that she was thinking to call them in, she didn't respond to the Sunday. And who did she mention? But that guy, that like, lovely man. And I'm like, there it is. That's the thread. And I'm like, it's all good. Yeah. We're already in talks.
What a tangled web we weave.
Yeah. And then he responds on the Saturday night after meeting us being like, I've literally just seen this message you sent in January. So it's like, and this is like the thread that is weaving, and it's there, and it's been happening ever since the energy opened up, ever since we said yes. It has just been flooding in, and it makes the hairs in my arms rise, because it's like, there it is. This is the truth of illumination. When you decide, when you give yourself permission to be all of who you are and to stand in the light, you attract light. You attract the energy that is the truth of all of our beings all around us.
Do you know, it's something that I was thinking about this earlier on today. That's something that when I was younger I didn't really think about, but it's becoming more of a conscious thing of your terminology for it is frequency first. And when I think about the last, say, 20 years that we've been together, and the people who we have had in our lives, the people who remain consistent in our lives throughout those 20 years, some people kind of faded away, and that was for a reason, and it was because the frequency is right, and you're attracting that. And again, it's something I didn't really think about, but I think as I get older now, I kind of, I would pride myself on being a pretty good judge of character anyway, but it's that intangible thing that you think, yeah, I didn't really vibe with that person, but then there's other people like the people that we spoke with at that event, where you're just like, oh yeah, this is like, this could be the work or the service that you can provide with this is important. And I think you've mentioned womanhood.
Yes.
I think for the first time viewer, it's important to ask, I mean, what is womanhood and why feel the need to illuminate it?
I think that's a really good question, co-host. Thank you very much.
A good question? I think so, considering where we're at.
Yes, and it's funny because you said earlier, I mean, I've talked about this loads, and I'm like, yeah, but the person
people
listening
don't know
to this
People
haven't heard you talk about this ever. But
private conversations.
Yeah. So womanhood is the community that I founded. Well, I would say co-founded with the woman who stepped into circle with me, and the men who have stepped into circle with me over the last few years. So that is what womanhood is. Womanhood is a space, a space to drop in, to connect with the wildness that you are, you know, to really understand the truth of your being. And that's what womanhood is. And the key for me is, as a woman, it's through the womb space, whether you have a womb or not, by the way. So it's
a piece of dust.
Are you sure? It's a wee entity saying hello. So yes.
I just killed it.
Lovely.
Sorry.
So anyway, yeah, the womb space is the channel. It is the actual door, the portal into the connection to the divine, to the source. Because as I say, you know, the womb is the altar. Your body is the temple, right? It holds the flame of the soul, of your heartbeat, the thing that keeps you here, and the soul that is the eyes behind your eyes that is experiencing itself, that's moving through you and experiencing itself through all of life, right? That is the body, but the womb is the altar through which the ethereal or soul or spirit is made manifest in this reality. You know, and when a woman falls pregnant, when she conceives, the seed of light descends into the womb space. And then there was light. You know, think of the womb, and if you were dropping your eyes down into your body, it's in complete darkness. It's this beautiful, warm, cozy, nurturing, protective, safe space. And then when conception happens, the seed of light enters. And even when we do not conceive life in that physical way, you are conceiving life every day in every way in your being as a woman. But the same goes for a man. So for men in their body, it's called the hara. That's the energetic space of your creative center. your hara. And
it's the sacral chakra as well, isn't
yes,
it?
the sacral chakra. So basically, this is where all the magic happens. This is where you move your life from, where you birth your life from. We have to descend down into the darkness and be in the stillness, in the space where no thing but all things exist. It's the space, the primordial space. It's the void space. And that to me is what the womb space or the hara is. You know, it's the place where everything comes from. And so womanhood is about connecting, is a space where we connect to that space within us. And why illuminate it? It's because these are conversations that I'm having, like we discussed a moment ago. I've been having these conversations because I've been very blessed to have such a variety of mentors and guides in my journey of my own exploration and expansion in my life. And these are the conversations we be having behind closed doors. And I'm like, no, this needs to be brought
It's important
to the masses. Yes. And one of my gifts to really own my light is that I have been told that it's taken these massive ideas or experiences and bringing them and rooting them into grounded spirituality, into language that we all understand. And you'll see as the episodes go forward, friends, that I am passionate about language because we have all different syntax, different codex of language that we use to understand and explain the unexplainable. We're actually limiting the limitless. You know, this massive thing.
Labeling the labelless.
Labeling the labelless, as I have said. As well, yeah. You know, and everybody has their own language that they use that works for them and that lands in their body is like, that's an alignment for me, that works for me, and this is what works for me. And I can't wait to bring conversations where we can bring and pare it back, because there's things like, you've heard of things, you know, there's different modalities, different theories, different belief systems and religions that you've heard of, but you don't really know maybe necessarily what they are. Like, let's get back to basics. I will ask the really basic question, well, what exactly is that? You know? So, and that's what Womanhood Illuminated is.
So I was going to ask, you talk about womanhood and the community that you created, but what kind of things happen in that community?
So in that community, there is healing work. We do the work. You know, that terminology, honey.
The work. The dreaded work.
The work. This is, again, word language. This is words that you may hear when you start to step into your own journey of expansion and growth or healing. And or remembering the truth of who you are and returning home to yourself is the work. And it's a space for the work. And what is the work? In a nutshell, the work is loving yourself, folks. That's what it is, in a nutshell. And it is the hardest freaking thing you're ever going to do.
I was about to say, you stated that very matter-of-factly, and it sounded like it's just so easy.
It's so easy. No.
It's not easy, no.
Like, I work with mothers a lot, and I talk to them about how their child needs a new pair of shoes. And they are busted, right? They have no money. And somehow they manage to, and it's not just a new pair of shoes. They want the best shoes, like Adidas or Nikes or whatever.
Yeezys.
Or, you know, this thing, like, you know, there's this chasing this narrative that we want to, you know, kids, we all want to, at that age, we want to fit in, you know, and they want to fit in. And so they will put themselves in dire straits for this, for something that really in the grand scheme of things maybe is not important. I mean, it is for the child, but you know what I'm saying. But when it comes to themselves, if I said, spend that money on you.
You need a new pair of shoes yourself.
Yes. Or you really, really need some self-care. You're on the brink of exhaustion. You know, you're pushing past your body's to the point you're going to end up in hospital with some kind of weird illness that nobody understands what it is.
It can't be diagnosed.
It can't be diagnosed. Your eyes twitching. You're having these weird neurological responses, and it's just simply, not simple, but exhaustion. And we find it hard to say yes to us, but we'll say yes to everyone else. And that's what the work is. It's about realizing that you came into this world first. You were here first. You were here and you grew first. And then you found a partner. And then you had children. And that to me is like, and it's controversial.
I don't think it is really.
But it's that is the natural order. You love, and the reason why, folks, is when you receive. You know, we always think give first and then you'll receive. You know, that's what we're taught. But for me, my experience and what I've even been told in my experiences by the divine is no, receive first. Receive. Because when you receive, you're filling your cup. In fact, you get to the point that you're like a tap. You're a conduit of this ever-giving, limitless love. And that's because you're receiving it first so that you can give it to others. And womanhood and that space, what we do in that space and those spaces is creating the spaciousness for people to find that within themselves and to love themselves and to create the space to fill their own cup. That is what womanhood is.
It's like the analogy of if you're on an airplane and there's an emergency situation, you'll be told, you know, when the masks come down from the cabin and you're told, put yours on first before trying to fix anybody else.
Yes,
you have to tend to yourself first because without you, these children or whoever you're helping won't be able to be helped.
Exactly.
You have to help yourself first.
Which is the hardest.
That's a hard
thing.
dance to do, I think, yeah.
And it's and returning to love within yourself, of yourself, realizing that you're not broken. We all have experiences that rupture our sense of self. That
for sure, yeah.
We feel fragmented. In fact, we can feel very separate to ourselves and to others, and we just, you know, the journey of self-love is a returning to wholeness, to realizing and remembering that you were never broken to begin with. You know, it's like, oh, there's this love that exists, deep, infinite love that exists within me.
Yeah.
That when I discover that again, it's like you can never forget it once you've found it and feel it and experience it in every fiber of your being. It's the finding it that's the hard part, or the journey to finding it. Because I know that you yourself, like, did you hear the noise that just came out of me there? This kind of wheeze came out of me there. I don't know what that was. That's so strange. So, like, from your own point of view, from that journey that you've had, like, that was not the state that you're in right now has been a hard one. Yes, it has. It's daily hard one.
Yeah, it's not easy, and everybody will slip back every so often. It's like it's such a what do you always say about the journey? It's like you're always doing, or you know,
you spiral.
You stop the day you die. That's the one.
Yeah, you're a journey of remembrance that you return to every day in every way. Always. And it's a journey that, like, I am on. It's not Absolutely. Like every human being on this planet, no matter where they're at in their journey, are on. And, like, it's very easy to see other people and think, oh, they're further along the road than I am and whatever. And it's like, so what? What does that matter? In this moment, I'm very much connected into that energy because I'm here for that. That's what I'm here to do and to be of service. But if you had seen me first thing this morning, that is not where I was, you know? Been
dragged out of bed.
You know, this is the reality of life. You know, you cannot maintain one state of being all day, all the time. And that is, you're not meant to. And I can tell you why.
Why is that?
Because the beauty of life is in the remembering. It's in the returning.
The hardships.
It's like if we were to stay in the light of love all day,
you would never know it.
Well, it's like you would be the light of this from the sun. You're a candle put to the sun, and you don't know that you're the light because you're just filled with light and surrounded by light. It's only through coming into the darkness that we return to the light and can express our joy after being through winter. The joy of spring and summer is through being through the winter, and equally we are through the busyness and the doing of spring and summer and all of that ramp up in energy, are ready for autumn and winter. We're like, yeah, let's slow our roll here, slow down. Life is balance. That is the beauty of life. It is not all light. It is not all dark. It is not all positive. It is not all negative. It's not all feminine, masculine, yin and yang. It's the collective. It's the bringing of, it's the two sides of the one coin, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a long journey for me to arrive here to realize that, because little background about me, okay? I grew up in a Catholic household in Ireland,
Mm-hmm.
and I was very blessed. My family were very involved in the church, and actually the charismatic movement, which was basically a bit more spiritual, you know, less religious, more about prayer and like the beauty of prayer and understanding the power of
the
prayer.
intention of prayer.
The intention of prayer, and putting your hands on people, praying over people, being a conduit, a channel for God, basically. And it was really, really beautiful. But there was this part of me that always felt like something was missing. And for me, it was, and this is just my personal journey.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my journey within Catholicism really, really did a lot for me in lots of ways.
Course it did,
and continues to do so.
Foundation of your religious journey.
Yes,
You know, or
foundation of
spiritual
my
journey.
faith, of faith, of understanding there's something greater.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it was this trying to always look outside of yourself. I felt like you were looking outside of yourself for God, that you were disconnected somehow, you know, you were ascending, trying to ascend all the time to this higher level of being, of light, which was transcending the body.
Mm-hmm.
And it just didn't connect for me. And especially as someone who had childhood trauma. And I will be having an episode where I talk about my own experiences that brought me here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Jason will be also having an episode to talk about
Will
his
I?
journey too. Yes,
Will I?
yes, you will. Yeah.
Oh.
But
That'll
yes,
be crack. It'll be good fun.
these are really 10 episodes long.
It's a full series. It'll be a month-long series.
There's so much to get through. But yes, my journey of healing, I felt, the only way I can describe it is I felt numb. I felt like I couldn't feel my body. And I tried everything. I tried every modality going to feel again. And I have likened it and shared this in spaces with womanhood. You know, I wanted someone to do like they do in ER, you know, where I wanted someone to cut me open, crack open my rib cage and grab my heart and pump it to let me know that it was there. And basically returning through the work of Tantra and sacred sexuality, returning to my body was when I realized, whoa, this is where the divine lives.
What is it you call the return to your body? You have a term for it?
Rewilding?
Rewilding.
Yes.
There we go, yes.
So, returning to the body, basically the body is like the fertile soil. This is our land, you know. This is a mini of microcosm of the earth, your flesh and blood, your body. And by returning, going deep into the soils of my own body, into my own landscape, inner wild landscape, into the darkness of my own being, I realized that there was the seed of light is planted there in that soil, and it grew roots deep, deep into my being, deep into the earth of my being. And it was only through grounding deeply into the roots of my body, into my being, that I could grow like a tree, like a mighty oak, and extend. Stop looking at me like that. Extending to the heavens, and like basically be filled with light, you know. It's only like, again, the balance, you know, the roots of the tree, the branches, you know, for every branch that is extending out to the light, there's a root twice as big and long in the earth. So it's that balance of understanding that it's only through descending into the body that transcending or ascending happens. And this is my experience.
It's the first time I've ever heard I've heard the tree analogy before, but for you to put it like that, Ooh.
By claiming my own body again, you know, by understanding, reclaiming, because here in Ireland we live in a country that has been colonized, really, and the land itself has been colonized, and in so many ways our own bodies as the land has been colonized in lots of ways. So it's instead, you know, an energy of tech where things are taken from us,
reclamation, isn't it?
And it's reclaiming that back, you know, reclaiming your power. And you'll notice, that I you might hear little knocks and bumps. Apologies, it's me being animated with my hands and slapping the mic. But yes, it's a reclaiming, and that's what rewilding is. Mm-hmm. So rewilding is a dropping into your 6 senses. Ooh.
What are the 6 senses, Ruth? Go ahead.
I see dead people. No, Jason does. No,
I don't.
Thanks, honey. This is Jason. Is craftily.
Go ahead, rhyme off them 6 senses there. Just
challenging me.
Just like, you know.
I always forget one. Stop.
Go ahead. I'm counting them. Go ahead.
He's counting them. Right. Sight.
Yeah.
Hearing. Sound. Taste. Touch. And smell. And intuition.
Oh, she got it.
The wild knowing.
No reference needed.
So yes, rewilding is for me a reclaiming of your wild body, your wild landscape, your wild animal body. We are all domesticated wild animals.
I love that term.
You do?
I think that's such a powerful term.
It's true. And it lands powerfully because it's like, whoa, I never thought about that. Yeah. You are a part of the animal kingdom. You might live in your little house and go to your wee office and live your little life in your wee car and live in these concrete structures in the concrete jungle. But you are actually from the land and you are a mammal. Yeah. And we forget. And then we wonder why in winter I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. and go to the gym and do all these things. It's a fight for me. Why have I no energy at this time of year? Let's listen to the birds. What are they doing? They're not even up singing yet. Mm-hmm. Now, that doesn't mean come summer that you're up from 4 a.m. when the birds start to sing. You know, my day begins. I mean, maybe that is what it is for you.
Possibly. Some people do, yeah.
Only because I'm saying it's moderation, isn't it? Because we moderate ourselves to live, to still fit into the structure that has been created around us, you know, the patriarchal structure that is basically telling us we work 9 to 5, we live this way, this is how we are, we're robots, when actually, no, we're not. We're wild animals. We are domesticated wild animals. And there are things within us, there are rhythms within us that are connected to the nature of the natural world.
And cyclical.
Yes, and all around us, yes. So it is normal that you do desire to nest in winter, to be cozy, to eat stews, to watch Netflix, put the fire on, you know, to really go inward, to slow down, which our modern world in the West has really dismantled in such a way that we feel like we need to do more because of Christmas and all the rest, when actually it's no, let's slow right down. And that goes right through until March, really, and where the energy just starts to rise. And then in April, April's when you start to actually get a little bit of energy again. You know, I've had people in my world being like, in February going, I still, you know, I'm it's like, part of them is moving forward, but there's this tether that's holding them back, and I'm like, that's because you're still linking into your wintering energy.
You're closer to the winter than the summer. Yeah,
you're in dreamland still.
Yeah,
you know, and that's what rewilding is. Rewilding, and we do this a lot in my work, is helping people to understand the seasons and the cross-quarter days and the wheel of the year, the Celtic wheel of the year, which is something I'm passionate about, being from Ireland, you know. Understanding your land, and wherever, if you're in Australia listening to this, you're in a different phase in your, you know, because
sure, yeah.
you're in the southern hemisphere. But understanding the seasons around you and how you are a part of that. You're not separate from it.
And do you know what's funny is that recently we attended the spring equinox at Ungreening. So we live in Ireland, and very close to us is this ancient site where twice a year on the equinoxes this beautiful pillar of sunlight filters through the round fort, and it splits it in two. And for the last couple of years you've done Rise to Thrive. And this year one of our friends who's never done this before, never been probably never saw dawn before, really, this guy lives a lot indoors, is a very indoorsy person, loves his gaming and his tech and all this kind of stuff, decided to come up with us to Ungreening on the morning of the equinox, and there was loads of people up there. But this one guy, we were standing and we were waiting for the sun to rise. It was in the dark and the sun was slowly starting to rise, and as it did, as the orange started to appear, the wee birds and all the wildlife started to stir, and it was palpable because everybody was so quiet. And this guy said to me, and this guy's like 36 years of age, turned around to me and was like, "What the fuck is happening here, man?" I was like, "The dawn chorus, is that what you're?" I was like, "The birds and all." He was like, "Why are they doing that?" I was like, "Because they're waking up, man." And he was like, his mind was blown, and a lot of people don't get to experience that. We're very lucky that we have fucking trees outside our house, so the birds wake us most mornings. But a lot of people don't fully understand that. And I could see in his head, he was like, and he said to me after everything was done, he was like, "This is how we're meant to live." And I was like, "Yeah, we definitely are."
And that's where blue lights from our technology impacts our circadian rhythm. You know, like there's another rhythm. I'm guilty
of that one. Like I'm guilty of that big time. Yeah.
There's another rhythm that lives within us, and that's the circadian rhythm, which is, you're going to ask me what it is.
What is it? Yeah.
So the circadian rhythm is the rhythm that within you that is impacted. It's impacted by environment, it's impacted by diet, it's impacted by sleep. It's your kind of sleep rhythm. It's impacted by light and
governed by sunlight, isn't it?
Yes, governed by the day and night. And that's why when you go on holidays and you change time zones, you find it hard sometimes to link up. And that's your circadian rhythm. So you have this internal rhythm that is impacted by the light. And so if you turn all of your blue devices off, and it's really good for you to be outside and watch the sunset, and it's also really good for you to get out and watch the sunrise. This is what our ancestors did. This is what rewilding is. It's living with the land, listening and being in tune with the natural ebb and flow of life that is you are part of, and it's surrounding you and working through you. And when you do that through even something as simple as sunrise and sunset honourings, you will sleep better and your energy is different. Well,
can I point to something that you've been doing Rise to Thrive now for a couple of years, and it's done in autumn and spring, and this year is the first time I feel that we were getting up every morning, and you were going live on Facebook and Instagram, and so you had to get up that little bit extra
to watch the sunrise. We did a meditation
to watch the sunrise, but I feel after that, I remember the first morning being like, "Oh Jesus, I cannot do this." Like I didn't go to bed till like 12:30. How is it 5:00 in the morning and I'm getting up? But I feel like, and it was only 7 days long.
This time, yeah.
But I feel like since then, for the first time since you've done it, I feel like the energy levels are different in me for sure. I feel like I'm waking up and going, "Yeah, I'm not knackered the way I was."
Spring equinox is like the perfect. We did it for autumn equinox before, but I feel like spring equinox, because the energy is naturally rising, and you do feel, you do feel the desire to get up. It's easier to get up, and that is what your circadian rhythm. Like you and I have discussed how Jason and I were never morning people. We were night owls for so many years because
I burned the candle at both ends.
Jason was a touring musician, which we'll discuss in his episode.
Vampire is what I was. I didn't see daylight.
You really didn't, and that knocked us off completely. But we have become morning people. We love to get up now, even on days when we're not doing anything. It's like we can't, it just happens. We just waken.
The amount of times that I've been like, I cannot wait to lie all day tomorrow and do nothing. I'm not waking up till like 10, 11 o'clock.
Never
and
happens.
At 7 o'clock I'm lying going,
ding.
What the fuck is this? I wanted to
It's
rely
your
on that.
natural rhythms. Just in relation to womb work, it's also understanding that there's many cycles. There's the cycle of the seasons. There's your circadian rhythm cycle. There is menstruation cycle and menstruation cycle. And for menstruation cycle, and people are like, "What? Don't call it menstruation." And that it's menstruation. Menstruation is the cycle that the woman goes through with her bleed, and this is the inner rhythm of the external, the microcosm of the macrocosm. You have winter is your bleed, spring is your follicular, then you have your ovulation, which is summer, then luteal, which is autumn, and then back into your bleed again. And for me, in my journey, and this is why I work so much with the womb space, this changed my life. It changed my guilt conscience as a woman, being like, why have I so much energy? Last week, I could do so many things. I was like Superwoman. Why was that? Now I understand. I was at an ovulation station, as I say.
Ovulation station.
Ovulation station. And then I'm like, a week later, I'm like coming into autumn, and I've made all these plans in the summer, being like, yes, of course I can do that. No problem. I can go to that social event. No problem. You want me to watch your kids? No problem. You know, whatever they can. And then autumn comes, and I'm like, why did I say I would do all these things? All I want to do is like my own things and take care of me. And
chocolate and duvet days
and just rest and listen. And it's been really liberating to understand the inner seasons, the cyclical nature of me,
I was going to say, I think from the point of view of your healing journey, the real first marker, the first milestone for you for this journey in particular was the understanding of your cycle. That's interesting.
Yeah, coming off the pill, I was on the pill, and the world went from black and white to multicolored, and we will have a whole episode on this alone, okay? So I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's just it liberates you because you understand yourself better, and like what is there that is better than understanding yourself and understanding that you have a rhythm, that an inner rhythm that is connected to externally what's moving through in the world and the earth, you know. And for men, yes, there's the argument, women have a 28-30 day, whatever your cycle is, men have a 24-hour cycle hormonally, you know.
Okay.
You move through, that's why men can show up, and that's why the world is created for men. Our patriarchal structure is that men can show up every day and do the 9 to 5, and that's why even lunch is at that time, because men have an energy slump at that point in the day, and there's so much that is around supporting men, which fair enough, okay, but
we built the place, like.
Oh dang! All
feminists
the haters
are losing their mind.
Comment. No,
you comment away. I'm just spitting truth here. No, I'm only joking. I'm carrying on.
The container for the flow. But men have.
Sorry, I just thought I'd drop a wee.
That's great.
A grenade there.
Thanks, honey. End of podcast, and it was cancelled. And it was cancelled. No, but you have a 30. There's been lots of research. I think it's through Johns Hopkins University. I can't remember the paper and who did it. It's there somewhere. We might find it. Yeah. But it shows that men have a 30-day cycle.
Okay.
And that makes perfect sense because we're all connected into the moon. We all have waters, and you know, there was a long time where even saying that was considered, and I hate this word, woo-woo, you know, woo-woo. But now the science is showing how the world, you know, contracts and expands, the wobble, you know, from the pull of the moon on the waters of the ocean.
That's why you have tides and stuff. It makes perfect sense. Yeah,
and why there's this thing called a lunatic, or would have been called a lunatic asylum, because Luna, the moon, you know, people would their behaviours changed. Why in nursing homes and hospitals they hate the full moon, or they know it's coming. They mightn't be linked in and paying attention, but they're like, I bet you it's a full moon tonight, and they go and check, and yes, it is, because people's behaviours change.
Can I go back to maybe 17 years ago lying in bed one night in the Mavati. Something you may learn over the course of this podcast is that Ruth talks in her sleep, and at certain times these things come out of her, and I'm like, what is going on? And it'll almost be like a conversation.
Here's a drop of the thread. This is a knot, a reminder. This
is the universe pointing you to that fucking 17 years ago.
To now,
today.
Yeah.
So Ruth said to me, so we were lying in bed, and Ruth...
I didn't say it to you, I said it to an
audience.
audience.
She said it to an entire audience of people. So she's lying back in bed, and she woke up and she went, oh my God. And her arms were shot up in the sky like this. She was, I figured it out. And I went, figured what out, Ruth? Because I'm lying fully awake because, like I say, I was a vampire at the time, on the verge of insomnia. And she went, I figured it out. She's lying with her eyes closed, asleep, and was like, and I was like, figured what out? And she went, the answer to everything. I was like, Jesus, here we go. I was like, what's the answer to everything? She went, it's the moon. The moon's the answer to everything. You, me, everything. And in the morning I was like, what the fuck were you dreaming about? And she was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But that was the foreboding that the universe...
It's true. The moon is the answer to everything.
There we go.
We're 70% or more water. You know, it impacts our cyclical nature. Woman, menses in Latin, I think it is. It means moon. Men having a 30-day hormonal cycle or like a whatever. Please don't quote me on this, but there was whatever they measured and that to show that you have a 30-day cycle. And I have to say, based on this piece of research, I decided to do my own. So I actually put a call out a few years ago to men within in my circle to actually participate in a bit of research with me, and they did. There was 10 men participated, and they started on a full moon, and they journaled for 2 months.
That's right.
Some of them went on and continued the practice and were able to feedback for longer. But I wanted to test what I had experienced through my mapping my inner cycle. Day one being the day of your bleed, how I basically, this is part of the learning journey for me. It was like open day 3 of my first month of cycle, you know, journaling, and like 10 months later, open day 3, and it was the exact same day. I was going through the exact same emotional processes of whatever the questions might have been, and how, like, in the autumn of my cycle, every woman's cycle is different as well, by the way. You know, we all have our superpowers appear at different places, but for me, in the autumn of my cycle, that's when I'm most intuitive and connected in, and magic happens, you know, in this the mystic energy of really connecting into that void space, the limitless potentiality. Happens for me in autumn. It happens for a lot of women in autumn. But anyway, and I just was able to look at the diary and the journal and be like, all right, these days the ebb and flow of all of these thoughts, these patterns of thinking, of feeling, were so connected to my cycle, and I had no idea. And I was like, I wonder how men are affected. And they were able to map with the moon, and it did come up at about 30 days as well, which is interesting, which I did not tell them, but they were able to see how they had a seasonal pattern. And so they decided when their next day one would be. And that's what the beauty of it was like they reread what they did and felt every day. And they're like, I'm feeling like that again today. This is day 1. And they mapped it. And for the gentleman or 2 gentlemen that continued, they realized that they had a winter in their cycle. They had an energy point where their energy was low, and they had no explanation for it. And the most beautiful experience of mine through doing this work with men and women is how alike we are. You know, the stories, the narratives. Now, there are ones that are very feminine for the females, very masculine for the men. You know, there's certain key themes that appear for both separately. But overall, the narratives and the feelings are a lot the same. And it's so cyclical. It just blows my mind. I'm like, if every man knew this about himself, like us as women, how much more gentle you would go and move and be with yourself
It's something I've never really thought about until you say it now. And I remember at the time you saying to me, "You're going to do this study," and I was like, "I'm too busy to do that today."
Thanks,
might be worth dropping in and trying to do it myself, because many times you've said to me, "What is going on with you? You're a rat bag." Now, again, just as full disclosure, I have the full blown red-headed energy.
He does.
I blow a fuse very, very quickly over the most
Mm-hmm.
trivial of things.
He is Bilbur. If you've seen the comedian Bilbur, Jason has a wee spirit animal that lives within him of Bilbur. When there's tractors on the road, or when technology, well, it's more me with the technology.
I was about
but
to say, I'm perfectly patient with technology.
No, come on.
By comparison to you, though.
Okay, sorry. Tools, equipment.
Yeah, equipment.
When you go to do something and a tool doesn't work the way that you want,
it's probably getting flung over a hedge.
Yeah.
So
yes,
but I've never once thought to myself, is there a pattern to this? Maybe I should look into that. Maybe that's going to be part of that work for me.
Yes, there absolutely 100% is a pattern.
Oh, let the buyer beware.
But what's beautiful about understanding and rewilding yourself, which is basically reconnecting with your innate nature, with the rhythm of the truth of your being as a cyclical person, it creates a sense of liberation in your being, that I understand myself now. I'm so much more compassionate with myself. I won't give myself such a hard time. And I actually, and Jason can attest to this, will organize my diary around that. Yeah. There have been times where I have not run an event, even though there's a monthly moon, for example, for a circle, and I'm like, no, that's at this point in my cycle, and I know that I will not have the energies to hold space for that, or whatever the case may be, and I will try my best to honor that. Now, life happens, folks. We have weddings, you have work, you have things that you have to do, but you can reclaim as much of that back to yourself as you can. But
also in that reclamation, my personal observation of you in that situation is, because you're aware of yourself and how you feel at a certain time, or how, at any given time, you're kind of aware of that.
Yes.
It kind of has made you less permeable to other people's shit as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I know when to have that conversation.
And less tolerant, I was about to say. Yeah, you pick and choose your time, and there's part in that as well.
We were away last week, and my bleed was overdue, and it came in late. Shocker. And by the way, whatever's happening in your life also affects your cyclical length.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can guess, with everything ramping up here, why my bleed was decided to go. Yeah, you can just feel that tension for a wee day longer.
You just hold off a wee second.
You just hold that and feel that and honor that, please. And it came, and she came, and when she came, I was like, oh, there she is. But we went into a cafe, and this wee man was short with me, right? I had ordered a vegetarian bap, and he gave me sausages and bacon, and I was like, dude, and I took it back up to him, and we had this conversation where I stated the order twice,
specifically saying vegetarian,
and he was like, so you mean a whatever? And I'm like, yeah, the halloumi and whatever. And so I brought it up to him, he went, so I got it right the first time then? And I was like, clearly not, because this is not vegetarian.
You got my order wrong.
I was like, I think there's been a bit of miscommunication. So he went, okay, all right, whatever, and was really rad.
I love spitting my breakfast bap.
And I was like, I walked away, but I started to cry. And Jason was like, what happened? And I was like, what happened is, it's day one of my cycle, honey. It's day one. And there's been a lot building up my being, and she has released it for me. And that's what's going on. And then I cried, and then I wet myself laughing at the same time at me sitting in this frigging cafe crying. But and this is the other beautiful thing about this work, is that you give yourself permission. You give yourself permission to be all of who you are at any given moment. It doesn't bother me now that if I get emotional about something that is pulling on my heart in a grocery shop and I need to cry, I'll just cry. I don't, if it happens in work, I will cry. If it happens in circle, I just allow myself to express.
There's freedom in that, though, because as a society, and I know that in your story in particular, we've discussed it, or you've discussed it on social media about the fact that, like, people close to you as well, which is the problem, have told you you're melodramatic, or you're too emotional, or
too much.
Or like a friend of ours told us recently, we were at a wedding, and a friend of ours mentioned that someone had told them that they were too much. And like, when you're a child, I think it's maybe less, although you're more permeable to it, and you're more susceptible to the repercussions of being told that at that time. I think it's less of a problem. Maybe I'm wrong, but this person was like 40 years of age and was being told by her potential partner, "You're too much."
Yeah.
And you said,
what did I say?
You said you do not want anybody in your life that tells you you're too much. You want them to tell you to be more.
That's right. Yeah.
And I remember thinking, fuck, there we go. Like, that's the thing. And in that cycle of awareness, then that's where trust in your gut becomes your intuition. Is super important. And intuition is that gut pull, the pull that you've had this morning to go and attend that event is a gut pull. The intuition to maybe just take it easy. Maybe I don't need to go to that family fair today. I'm okay. I'm a bit tired. I'm a bit sick feeling.
Saying no when and as a woman, the women are the nurturers, they're the space holders, they're the mothers, and we find it hard to say no. And self-love, the hard work, inverted commas, is saying no when you need to say no. And saying yes, that yes, when you're getting a whole body yes. And honouring I don't know as a no. That doesn't mean that I don't know is a no. It just means it's a no for right now until I decide, is it a yes or is it a no? Yeah. It's because sometimes I don't know is, I remember as a child, I would have had a lot of guilt. I was always a people pleaser. And so, like, wanting to stay with my aunt in my grandparents' house, and my mum being like, "Oh, I thought you're not coming home with me," and then like meaning nothing of it, and then me being like, "I don't know," because I didn't know, because I didn't want to disappoint her, but my body, my heart, I wanted to stay where I was, but I said I don't know because I didn't want to hurt somebody. And sometimes our I don't know is we don't know because we're being pulled in two different directions, and it's listening and going, what is the answer here for me? What actually is it that I desire?
And that can go to the extreme in relationships, or if you're in a manipulative relationship, or a neglectful relationship, or abusive relationship, that fear of I don't want to upset them, or and like a friend of mine recently used a term, and I thought, fuck, that's powerful, and it was just after implementing a boundary, and he said, "I'm not going to set myself on fire to keep you warm." Like, I will never forget that till the day I die. I thought, that there's power in those boundaries, but there's also, like, it can also cause discourse as well, because
it will cause discourse.
The person that you're implementing the boundary with may react. In an ideal world, they'll be like, "I respect that, no problem."
Well, you and I talk about this, and part of my work with Tantra is working with couples, okay? And Jason and I have done a lot of work in our relationship, and I always liken relationships to a seesaw. So you have the pivot in the middle, and there's the seesaw, and you're both on different ends of the seesaw, and you're 1 minute somebody's down holding the other up, and then it goes the other way, and it goes the other way, and every now and again in life it's perfectly balanced. There's no movement, you're just balanced.
Perfect
it's
equilibrium.
50-50. Doesn't happen all the time, but in certain areas, it's like, it's not life as a whole, because life has lots of parts to it. So in certain parts of your life it could be 50-50, and another part it could be 80-20 or whatever. But it's like looking at whatever the part of your life is and going, is the pivot moved more in one direction, so that my ass, I'm doing 80% of the
heavy lifting here,
of the what would you call this? I've lost the word. The bar is on one side and my ass is on the other ground, and on the ground, and the other person's, it's 20%. They're held in the air and they have nothing to do. And this is where we're at. And what you find is when you start to pull the pivot back to center, this is where the discourse happens, because you are only responsible for 100% of your 50% of that relationship. And so when you pull the pivot back and be like, I'm not doing 80% here. I am doing 100% of my 50, my half.
That
and
analogy,
so you bring the line.
That analogy reminds me of Ron Swanson, because you're just doing 50%. Doing 100% to 50% is just 50%.
Well, you know what I mean.
No,
Stepping up fully.
I totally understand what you're saying, by the way. It's kind of
you're
funny.
Not doing 30 or 40, or you're not doing 49, you're doing the full 50%. You're fully showing up in your half. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I get it.
And you're not doing 80, you're doing 50. And when you pull the pivot back so that the line is clearly drawn, that's the boundary at 50, that person who's been doing 20 has a full 30% more that they haven't had to do, because you've been carrying that 30% for them for the last however long. And so of course there's resistance. Of course there's going to be conversations that are awkward. Of course it means you're saying no. Yeah. You're saying no now. You've always said yes.
Another thing that you need to point out, and these are just wee truth nuggets that we're dropping. Recently, a friend of ours, we were at a family gathering, and
I know what you're
one of the family members wanted to go to bed, and the other one was like, "Go on, please stay up and play the game. Go on, play the game." And the other family was like, and then
this showed up, by the way, on my social media, and I sent it to her.
Fantastic!
Then,
again, it's just such a good saying. What is the saying for that?
The saying is, "No is a full answer. No is a full sentence."
Yes.
No is a full sentence.
Wow.
And it's so true. Because you don't need to go beyond because. It's not no because or let me explain. It's just no. And that's okay.
And something to talk, it's important to talk about from the podcast point of view is these are conversations that we will get into on a deeper level. And if there's anything that we've said that you think, I would love to know more about that, or I would be interested in working in that energy or focusing on that. Yeah. Or can you tell me more about that? Feel free to reach out to us in the comments or on social media. And if you think maybe you would like to hear from someone in particular, then you want to kind of reach out to us, and we'll do our best to illuminate it. But I think it's important to kind of talk about the
actual podcast itself.
Yes. So we'll get back to the Womanhood Illuminated podcast. So what do you expect from the Womanhood Illuminated podcast now that you finally fucking agreed to it? What are you thinking is going to happen here? Or
well, I've explained what womanhood is, as in a physical capacity between circles and courses and programs and all the rest, and then illuminating it. So these are conversations I've been having for years. I've been very blessed in my trajectory of life to have worked with the elderly in nursing homes, with people in the community sector, with students in university, with young people at college, and children in primary school. Like, I've worked with a wide variety of people.
Quite the demographic, yeah.
And there are common themes that recur everywhere. And whatever comes through me, I am who I am. And so if something comes through that I am going to share, I'm going to share it. If this is something that could be helpful, and it could be really practical, like, oh, Celtic sea salt has 96 minerals in it. Why don't you throw some of that under your water if you're feeling like low in energy, right? Something really random like that. Or, did you know that maybe your lower back pain is, have you stuff going on with your family? All right, you're not feeling supported.
Could
lower
be trauma,
back pain, blah, blah, blah. Whatever that might, like, in the conversations, with permission, always asking permission first before sharing anything. But there are themes that have come up, and I share these things with people. And then through this work, I have met, like I said, and had experience with so many different people from so many different backgrounds, and it's so vast. And I'm like, do you know what? This is medicine. This has been medicine for me. I have received so fucking much from these conversations. Indeed, and I'm like, And I'm telling people about it because, of course, when you get a nugget, you're like, oh, you're the first I run back to and be like, oh, do you hear this? Like, let's hear this nugget, this magic, this beautiful, anything that will help you to return to love. Every moment of life is an invitation to return to love. And all of these modalities, and they're all different frameworks and all the rest, it's just self-love, really. It's returning to love. And so, but they're magical and they're all different and they all have their own like chemistry and frequency. And so why I'm bringing these conversations into the light? Well, Womanhood Illuminated is a temple. Okay. You've talked about it being a portal. It's a portal for truth to come through. But it is a temple. It is the space holding this frequency that allows that energy to pass through of light, of illumination. And like any temple, there are 4 pillars. Okay?
Alrighty.
Okay. The first pillar is illuminating the person, the medicine holder, the wisdom keeper, the Jason William Joseph Jared McGilligan sitting here.
This guy.
No, but whoever's sitting in this seat, it's illuminating them. Mm-hmm. It's bringing them into the light to share what they have, their wisdom that they are carrying. Their
medicine.
Yeah, we're all we're all pieces of the jigsaw, we all each have our own piece, and every piece is important because without that piece, it's not a complete jigsaw, so we all are different pieces and we all do it in different ways, and have different facets to us. So it's bringing that person into the light so that conversation that we be having behind closed doors is happening here. So illuminating them, bringing them so that more people know about them, more people know about what it is that they are carrying, which is the second pillar, their wisdom, their resources. Okay. Because every episode, the person will be invited to share a resource, something to add to your inner resources as the listener or watcher, something that you can take home away with you in that episode there and then that will add to your life, that will help you navigate whatever it is, physical health, emotional health, spiritual health, whatever, relationships, whatever the case may be, that person has came to share. Okay. So it's their wisdom is the second pillar, which is the resources, resourcing you. That means that we are then pouring that light with those resources, with these conversations, the portal that is the light that is illuminating you then as a listener. It's resourcing you so that you keep returning to that place of love, that every conversation here is an invitation for you to feel illuminated within. It's like, oh, I remember now that I am the light. And by doing that, we go to the fourth pillar, which is that you take that out then into your community, into the world. And all you're doing is being you. And you're being you in a way that maybe you have not fully realized that you hadn't been, or that remember that you have always been, whatever the case may be. But it's resourcing you to step more into your light so that you'll go out into the world. And by you stepping out into the world in your light, you are like a beacon that is like moth to the flame, Mm-hmm. You are the flame, you are the flicker of light, and it illuminates people around you. And we're all frequency, we're all energy, we're all atoms vibrating at certain frequencies. And if this illuminates me, which gives you permission or you feel the invitation to illuminate yourself by sitting here, that then by extension the listener, the person who this is for, this has arrived in your ears and your eyes right now for a reason, and it's to remind you that you are the light. You are love. You are perfect and complete just as you are, no matter what you're feeling right now. That is actually the truth of your bones. If you remember when you came out of your mother's womb into this world, you were perfect. You didn't have the Russian doll effect, as I call it, all the layers of conditioning upon you. We don't look at a baby and go, oh, cover it up, We just see the beauty and the innocence of the being. And babies don't ask for permission. They know that's their sovereign birthright to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. They cry and we tend to them because that is what the energy is of the world. It is receiving. They receive. And then as time goes on, we put our layers of shit upon them. It's the first layer of shame, clothing. Then the next layer is eat this, believe in this. Say this, don't say that, behave this way. And then, no, you should be doing this with your life and blah, 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 blah. And there's all the layers. And what this is helping, the prayer that is Womanhood Illuminated, is the intention that this will help to remove layers by giving you access to information that maybe you didn't have access to before, to illuminate your consciousness, to go, oh, right, and to ground that into your body and release a layer so that you can step further into the light of who you are. And by doing so, be an example, a living example of the truth, remembering the truth. You're not an example, you just are. And by doing so, the people around you will do that too. And can you imagine a world where we're all lighting up like fireflies in our light? How that changes the frequency of the world, how we all connect into the power that lives within us and our inner truth. It changes things.
For sure, yeah. It
changes how you move through the world. You're more compassionate, you're more loving, you're more understanding. And all the crazy things that are happening in the world, for the parts that you have connection to and you're able to respond to.
It's the toolkit, isn't it? It's like when I think of it, you doing your work, and the difference that it has made to you as a human being, and by extension the difference that it has made to me as a man, to our relationship, but to all the relationships and how you interact with people in the world. Like we've talked about it already, there's a liberating aspect to it where you're far more free to just be, and the people who are meant to be in your life will accept you tenfold every time. Yeah. And you'll stop questioning yourself. Like part of the inner narrative or that inner landscape is am I worthy? Am I good enough? And these layers of the Russian doll thing is my God, it's such an insidious thing from day one. Like it's such an impactful thing that only, unless you're very lucky, your awareness comes to it exactly when it's supposed to. And if yours is coming to it now, it's happening for a reason. And,
yes. It's divine orchestration.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And all I was saying is, obviously there's things in the world we have no control over per se, but it's that seeing everything in the world as I am that I am energy, that you realize that you are the worst things in the world as well as all the beautiful things. And when you start to move through that and work through that, how that energetically, like energy is the reality of life. Like we have, we talk about womanhood illuminated. You are a light body. And when I talk about that, I'm not talking about it from this new age place. I'm talking about it from science. When you go to the
Large Hadron Collider at CERN.
When you go to CERN, to the Large Hadron Collider.
Large Hadron Collider.
That one there. That's why I don't say it. And talk to the scientists about the light body, not a being with blinking eyelid, because they know that this is actually language that they use, the light body. You are fractals of light. Yeah. That is what you are. That's what I am. This version of reality that we think, or how we're perceiving it, is not necessarily truth. And when you realize that means everything happens instantaneously. When you change something in you change it instantaneously. Change is not a gradual thing. In one way, in this reality, or in our understanding consciously of it, it is, but it's an instantaneous thing. Change is instant. Yeah. It's either this or it's that. That's what change does. Like the science of change is instantaneous. You flick the switch, it's gone from dark to night, light to dark. But when you realize that this is the power that you hold, and we all hold, this is how we change the world together, because
absolutely, yeah,
that it changes the frequency of the world. We all change. I mean, there's been studies done around this when people drop in and connect into their heart space when they pray or when they meditate, and they have set the intention that we're going to reduce the crime rate in this city, and the reports of like how they actually study this is by what comes in on the police report for that month or week or whatever the intention is, and it's gone down by like 70%. And this is science. This is not just like me saying it. This is well documented. And if you look at Dr. Joe Dispenza, he talks about that a lot, actually. So there, this is the power of illuminating ourselves, or
the power of
reconnecting
intention and clarity, and
to remember ourselves as a light. And I love that, because the word remember, it's like you're dismembered in your mind. You think you're on all these separate pieces. And to remember, it's like, imagine like clicking like a Barbie arm back into my body. Like I'm remembering, I'm calling all those parts of myself back to myself now. Conscious, all those fragmented versions of separation that I have believed. I'm calling them back into wholeness now, to remember that I am whole, and that by being whole, I am all things. Yeah. And it makes me think about the word, the 4 stages of consciousness. What's his name? Michael Beckwith.
Michael Beckwith.
Yeah, and that's to me what, when you enter this temple that is Womanhood Illuminated, it's navigating you through those 4 stages of consciousness. So the first stage is to me, and to me is victim consciousness. The world is happening to me. Everything is happening to me, per me. I'm not in control. And yes, there are things that happen in life that you can't control, but you always are in control of your response.
I used to hate hearing that. I used to despise hearing that. When people would say to me, but that's about you. I'd be like, would you fuck up about that's about me? This is not about me.
How you respond is absolutely all on you.
I get it.
Although sometimes that's all about you is not necessarily true, but how you respond is always all yours, all on you. Then you move from to me to by me, which is like the manifestor consciousness, where you're doing the thing. And I live in by me a lot. And in fact, a lot of us in this world live in by me. It's like, I'm going to make it happen. And this is what we do. And we push and we push and we push. And we're not listening to the wildness. Rewilding is listen. And this is the patriarchal society structure, is by me consciousness. It is push.
I make it happen, yeah.
And what happens then?
You crash.
You burn out.
Fucking sure.
And that's what happens with by me. And then nearly sometimes the crash brings you into through me consciousness, which is the channel, where the sense of separation from the divine it's less, because you realize you're channeling. And this is a lot of through me consciousness here, this space. It's an invitation into through me consciousness, but hopefully you will travel through on the portal of light to as me consciousness, which is the remembrance that I am one with God, with source, with the divine, with goddess, whatever the terminology, source, insert here. That's what as me consciousness is. It's like, I am all things. I am that. I am, that you are one with all things, and you move through the world in that way. And it's very hard to stay in that consciousness, but God. The prayer and intention for this space, for this temple, is a remembrance of the through me as me consciousness.
It's such an exciting thing. I'm just so excited. I think this has been a really interesting conversation for me, because I've heard several things that I have not heard you talk about before, even though I've heard you talk about them. Maybe it's the way you framed it is different. And for anybody who's feeling this and maybe feeling overwhelmed as well, that's the other thing, or the
scared. The words are sometimes what can happen, and I've experienced this, and you have too. My words, these are my words, folks, okay? And they're not even my words, they're other people's words. They're all of our words as me consciousness. It's all of our words, because we are one part of the body. You're an atom and I'm an atom in the collective body of the divine.
It's like the Men in Black analogy of a galaxy inside a galaxy, and our galaxy is like a particle inside a marble that some giant being is playing a game with.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or the Who's and the Grinch, the Who and
Whoville,
where a whole universe existing inside of a snowflake that has fallen to the ground inside of another, whole other reality. But yeah, these words, this language, if something is moving, it's like, let's just drop out of the head for a moment, right? Mm-hmm. And listen to your body. Listen to your inner waters. How are they moving? Mm-hmm. You know, is there a wee flutter of like, oh, as I talked about earlier, the feeling the ooh. Yeah. I don't fully understand the words, but you do understand the energy behind the words. It's frequency first. This is about the intention behind what we're bringing here. Mm-hmm. And it's that understanding that you in your body, in your deep gnosis, you understand
your deep gnosis
as the mystic that you are, as the microcosm of the divine, that you are connecting into that energy. You don't need to understand it in your mind. You'll know it in your body. You'll know it. And if you listen there, follow the thread.
Yeah, the thread is woven. Pull that thread, yeah.
That we're being woven together, whether this arrives to you on the 5th of May 2025 or in 2030 or 40 or wherever, because the beautiful thing about these things is they exist for as ever long until we bypass technology as it is now. But yes, listen in your being, and to hear past the words. Listen, get into your wild body, to your intuition, and to just speak to the intuition for a moment, because I'm aware that we're coming to near the end of this episode.
We definitely are, yeah.
But your wild body is all of the use of all of the senses. And I love to say about how, you know, when there's a murmur of birds moving through the sky and they're dancing and none of them flies into the other one, they're communicating.
Or a deer feels a crosshair on it and goes,
yes,
what the fuck is that?
Or you go into a cafe and you can feel a set of eyes upon you, and you turn around and it's your friend eyeing you going, is that Ruth or not? You know, and you can feel it.
Yeah.
Why? What?
Do you remember in Belfast when we first started going out?
Yeah.
Like, talk about intuition.
Yeah.
You go ahead and tell that story, honey, because it's such a mad story. Like,
oh, well, basically Jason and I were, this is crazy, like 20 years ago. We weren't even together, actually.
No, I think we were just friends.
We were friends, and we were walking down the street together in busy Belfast in Northern Ireland.
Bustling town, like.
Bustling street on a Saturday, and Jason is full on chatting away to me. And you know the way you'd be chatting, you're looking to the person to your left and then you're looking straight ahead and you're chatting, and he's chatting away, and I look and I just see this man, a young man, and it was like something out of a film. It was like he was in all dark clothes, and it was like, for me, he was standing still and everything was moving around him. That's how it felt in my intuitive body, but he wasn't. He was moving towards us. And so have you ever felt like when you go to faint, where your sound just goes so Jason's chatting away to me, and I'm not even hearing him anymore, because I've clocked this guy and he's clocked me, and every part of my nervous system was like hairs, like a cat hair standing on end. And I just got this feeling. I was like, oh, alarm bells were ringing in my body. I just knew something was up here. I don't know what it was, but something was up. And we continue, and Jason's oblivious, and we're chatting away, and we walk past, and I just said to Jason, I was like, did you see him? He was like, see who? I was like, did you not feel that? It's like, feel what? And it's like, the energy of that dude that just walked past us. And Jason goes, who? And he turns around, and I turn around, and the guy has walked about 15 feet past us at this stage, and has stopped in the road and has turned fully around to face us.
And it's just eyeballing Ruth.
And eyeballing us. Like, basically, our backs would have been to him if we hadn't looked over our shoulder. He's fully stopped and facing us. That's and right. In my head, I was going, is he going to run at us? Or what happened? You know, like, what is this?
He was just deadpan staring at Ruth. And he Like, it took him a second, because I was going to go,
Jason
what are
then
you
got
fucking looking
Jason's
at?
shoulders expanded and the warrior kicked in. He was had the energy. Is like, what the fuck is he? What is he looking at? And then he kind of snapped out of it.
It took him a second. He kind of went,
and he walked on, and I was like, oh.
He turned tail and ran, and I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
Like,
and that is the power of energy, and that is the power of your intuition and your wild senses. My other 5 senses were picking up on something. It's like when you think about somebody and they call, we're connected. We're all connected in this web of life. You know, when something moves in you, it's like plucking the thread that is of the web, and it ripples and undulates out into the universe, into the hearts and minds and souls of other people. That's how connected we are. And it's like, you know, I liken it to the rest of the animal kingdom whenever there's going to be a volcanic eruption or a tsunami. And like the day of or the day before, all of the animals start moving away. They're listening and feeling into the rhythms of the earth, and we have that within us, and that is, we call it our intuition, the sixth sense, but really to me it's an amalgam of all the senses, and that deep knowing and being really connected into Mother Earth creates that.
And you have to wonder, like, what is it you're picking up on as well? Like I read an article recently about this. Hunters have started using this special suit that masks the electromagnetic output of the human body. So it masks your electromagnetic field. And as a result of it, these hunters who were never able to get beyond 60 yards close to a deer, despite following all the protocols and being downwind from them, upwind from them and all that kind of thing, these hunters could never fully get close to the deer. And the second that they pulled the bow back, or that, the crosshair went on it, the deer went, what the fuck is that? And took off. But these hunters, now it's purely anecdotal, but these prolific hunters have stated that with these suits on, they've been able to practically stand beside these fucking things and them not know they were there.
Wow.
You see, you have to wonder what is
electromagnetic energy.
The electromagnetic field.
The pulse, yeah.
So you have to wonder what were the animals picking up from 60 yards away, like. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And so this is the animal body that we're domesticated wild animals, and when we rewild and connect in with our senses, and therefore the sense beyond the sense, our intuition, that is when the magic happens. And so, to return to why we brought this point up again, if you're having a response in your nervous system to what we're talking about, even if you don't understand the words, I am extending the invitation and the potential challenge, because it may feel like a challenge for you, to tune in and to join us and to continue listening. You're having a full body, fuck yes, I am here for it. These conversations, yes, bring me into the temple, anoint me. The wisdom is mine, it is ours. Let us birth it together. Let us move out and grow this space together as one community. Then thank you for being here, and I cannot wait to bring the medicine of all of these incredible beings to your ears and eyes.
Perfect. And
to finish, though, I have three things.
Okay.
We have a something special to share at the very end.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a question that I am going to be asking every guest that comes on to the podcast, and I want to ask it to you, and you can ask it to me. And the question is, what is a saying or a quote or a practice or ritual that you have found illuminating on your healing journey? So a practice or a quote or a saying that you have found maybe most illuminating. What is the one thread that has really made you, wow, like...
One that has, for me personally, and it's been my personal journey, which apparently we're going to get into in another episode. But the big one for me was, it's just a Wim Hof statement. So
who's Wim Hof, Jason?
Wim Hof is a breathwork. He created a breathwork model. He's known as the Iceman. He has broken multiple world records to do with like extreme temperatures. So he has ran a marathon in the Arctic, wearing just a pair of shorts and no footwear. He has climbed Mount Everest with no
to the first
auxiliary
summit, isn't it, or something?
base camp, I think, yeah. The man, I heard about him years ago, and the second I heard him speak, I was like, this guy is maybe a wee bit nuts. But the more I listened to him, the more I thought this guy has tapped into something. And at the time, I was struggling with a physical condition that had several. I had went to several healing modalities, and if there was a potential therapy that would have fixed it, I've probably tried it. And the one thing I hadn't tried was breathwork. And so for me, it's the breathe. Wim Hof says it: breathe, motherfucker. No matter what happens in your life, and I found myself doing this years ago when I would have been in a tense situation. I would have been going, holding my breath. I was holding my breath, which you're never supposed to do. And your breathing is one of those autonomic systems in the body that your body just does. You never really think about it. We've been breathing now for an hour and however many minutes, and didn't think about it once. But in a situation where you feel like you're stressed or you're anxious about anything, or you feel fear creeping in, for me, it's very important to take stock of the breath and breathe your way through it. Breathe, motherfucker. Breathe your way through it, and just be conscious of it, and just acknowledge that you're taking in something that is replenishing your body. You're going to be fine. Let it go. With every exhale, just let go of whatever that is. You'll be okay.
Feel every inhale, receive.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love that through one of my plant medicine journeys, and we'll be talking about plant medicine as well.
That's another buckle up buttercup one there.
When I was given the message to receive first, I was showing that when a baby is born, it's the first thing it does is inhale.
Yeah.
You receive first.
You take first. Yeah.
And then when you die, you give back, you exhale, and your life force goes in.
Yeah, so for me, as someone who experienced multiple stressors as a younger man and didn't necessarily deal with them the way I deal with them now, my medicine or my feeling is, if I feel stress creeping in or the old narratives creeping in or the self-talk's getting bad, I tend to just kind of center myself and just be like, right, dude, you're good. Don't worry about this. It's fine. And you'd be surprised how quickly after 3 or 4 breaths, you kind of open your eyes and go,
I feel good.
Bring it on, world. I'm ready for whatever you throw at me. Yeah. So that's mine.
I love that.
What was the question? So what have you found illuminating in a quote, a practice, saying that has helped you in your journey?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So mine, I have so many. I mean, we've dropped a few today. Like, no is a full sentence. I love
it's a big one. Yeah,
so good.
Powerful.
Been powerful. The as me, through me, the to me, for or by me, as me, through me consciousnesses. Love that. For me though, one of receive first is another one. But the one I want to share today is your mind can be in the past, present, or future in any given moment. You think of the past, you're in it. You think of the present, you're in it. You think of the future, you're there. But your beautiful body, the temple of your being, can only ever exist in the now, in the present.
Yeah.
And so when you are feeling like you're running forward in your life, and you're trying to plan and live in the by me consciousness, or you're in the to me, which is the past. You're living in the it's happened to me consciousness. The thing that brings you back into connection and remembrance is this body, and it only can exist in the now. So the thing that brings you back into the now is your body, and it is the breath and the life-giving breath. Breath is life. So brings you back into the now. You can only ever be in the past, present, or future in your mind, but in the I said that completely wrong. Your mind can be in the past, present, and future at any given moment, but your body can only ever be in the now. So a practice before we finish, just so to let you know as listeners, we have a practice that we do before every episode, and we did it today, and we'll be doing it going forward, where myself and the guest or
the co-host in this case,
we share in a cup of cacao. We set some prayer and intention for the episode to be of service. This is all about being of service to you.
So that's the pre-podcast ritual.
Yes, the pre-podcast ritual, and then I shuffle the deck, and the guest pulls a card, or vice versa.
But you didn't explain that. Sorry. So and then when we finish the podcast, to end with each podcast, what we'll be doing is using the cards.
The oracle card. And we have lots of different oracle card decks. So we'll be introducing you to a deck every month, every episode. Mm-hmm. And for today's episode, we are using the Sacred Ireland Celtic Moon cards.
Interesting that you chose that, and we're talking about the moon quite a bit as well.
Yes, and we'll do the card pull. I find it in the book, but we don't read it, okay?
Yeah.
It's just so that we have that done before we come on. And if you have not received any other medicine through this episode, which I doubt to be true, this card pull is for you. This is arriving to you in your life where you are right now, exactly as and when you need it. So the card pull is Autumn Equinox Equality. There is a joyous harmony in your life right now. Value rest as well as play. Your work-life balance needs adjusting. Befriend the parts of you that are in shadow. There is an invitation to acknowledge your light and your darkness. This is a side of you that you hope no one sees. Your so-called negative emotions such as jealousy and anger. However, you are the same as everyone. So to come to terms with this and love your humanity brings you welcome balance. And I just think that's hilarious because I said earlier on in the episode that balance is the key. Mm-hmm. So that's a lovely way to end. One more thing.
What is it?
The stick around for more info. So on the 6th of the 6th, 25, I am launching a free offering, and I'm going to have a little intro video to that here now at the end. So please stay on for one moment longer and watch the video on the free offering.
What's the free offering called?
It is called The Awakening, and it will lead into an actual group offer that there will be an exchange for called The Awakened One, or The Awakened. Mm-hmm. And so The Awakening is a free offer. Everybody is welcome to participate. Please like, share, subscribe, and follow. And to follow me and to link in with the work that I'm doing in person and online, you can find me on all streaming platforms and social media platforms. Are you not delighted that I remembered that?
I'm delighted you remembered that. I'll put up a QR code on this video that you can scan if you want to follow Ruth on a
Jason always gives off to me. He's like, you never say where to find you. So there you go. That's where you can find me. So to finish, I just want to say one more time, thank you, Jason. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing in the first episode with me.
It has been my privilege and honor. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it.
And thank you for bringing this into the light. And thank you more and most importantly to you, the listener, and those watching on YouTube as well. Thank you so much from my heart and womb to yours. Thank you, and see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for watching the podcast and sticking around to the end. I am so excited to share with you about the awakening activation. You were never meant to stay hidden. You were born to shine, to set fires with your voice, to walk as the queen that you are. On the 6th of the 6th, 25, We are going to remember that. We rise together and we reclaim the fire that they told us to tame. Join the awakening activation. Your soul has been waiting for this moment. Click the link and I'll see you inside.